Hey you guys, what's up? It is Mossy from Pro Gamer Academy. Today we are going to be talking about, you guessed it, Worlds. More specifically, talking about Worlds play-ins. I mentioned in the last video we talked about this a little bit, because I already had talked about the teams that had qualified, but I wanted to take a look at the teams that actually made it. They're only two winners are gonna advance to the group stage. And obviously you can see here four losers will be eliminated. So really interesting to see there, in the round two. Um, and I'm just curious to see who's going to advance to the group stage, basically. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the teams, and yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so I just want to take a look at each of the teams in each group. So to start that off, we will go to Hanwha Life Esports, obviously one of the representatives from the LCK. Uh, a couple sort of well-known names on this team. Even if you guys aren't super, if you guys haven't been following the LCK enough, you guys will definitely know Chovy. You'll definitely know Deft, and you probably might know Dudu. Um, some of these guys are a little bit less known in terms of, at least, I talk to my friends, and they're more of a Western audience. A couple of my buddies don't know, Johan as well. Vista, I think most of my friends have heard of, but regardless, I wanted to take a little bit at their look in you know throughout the last season of regional play. We can see here it looks like they had a fairly strong spring split. We'll go ahead and pull up the playoffs for that. So yeah, Hanwha Life looks like they made it through to the semifinals. The best of five that they were able to win against Nongshim Red Force. They made it to the semifinals and then just got 3-0'd by Damwon, which, Damwon is Damwon. Placing third, fourth in Spring Split is a great achievement for this team. But then, if you look at their placement in LCK Summer, they actually end up coming 8th. But what I'm more interested in is how their group stage went, how their record was. And you can see that they most certainly placed a little bit lower there. And quite frankly, it's just crazy to me that they had such a fall off after spring. Because, in the spring group stage, they were up there as the third highest team. And, funny enough, they place exactly there. So it's like this is a very accurate, playoffs scenario. But, yeah, Hanwha Life seems to me as though maybe they were on a downward trend, and then they were able to bring it back again, in the LCK regional finals, just to figure out, you know, I'm not sure what advancement they made, but they were able to figure out. Sorry, is what I meant to say. They were able to figure out a couple things about meta, maybe, and they seemed like a much better team. Like they bounced back, 3-1, 3-0 against Nongshim, and 3-2 against T1. You just barely lose out in the finals there, but at least you give yourself a fighting chance to go into the play-ins. So for me, this is probably one of the stronger teams in this group. Moving onwards, though, to the next team, we have LNG. Obviously, LNG is from China. They're one of the China representatives. It looks as though they placed 9th to 10th in spring. Didn't do so hot. Got knocked out of the playoffs by Suning. Not much you can say about that, but looks like they did a little bit better in the LPL summer. This is a team that wasn't really on my radar that much. We could look at their lineup and not a ton of names here that I'm all that familiar with, although I will say I've heard of Tarzan, but that's because I'm a jungle player. I'm not quite as familiar with this team, so it's harder for me to rate them. But given that they are one of the representatives of the LPL, they finished 4th. They finished above RNG, so I have to give them some respect there, for sure. And it looks like Tarzan made the first All-Pro team, so this team probably going to have to rely on their jungler a little bit. Looks like maybe he's probably one of their star players. I mean, he's at least a player for me that had that name recognition. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what LNG can bring to the table, but I would put them at least as like a second or third team most likely, just because they are representing LPL and it is one of the stronger regions. Moving onwards though, Team Infinity, obviously looks like they're representing Latin America. Latin America teams for me, there was only really a few that were ever on my radar. I don't have a ton I can really say about these guys. I mean, we can go ahead and look. It seems as though These guys, 10th, 11th at MSI, kind of unfortunate, but um, they were actually able to win and beat out, all the other teams and be that representative um, for Latin America. So I would love for these guys to pull off some upsets. I think it might be an upward battle for Infinity. But given that I don't know that much about the team, I don't really want to say anything else. I'm wishing them the best, and I'm hoping to see some exciting games from them. I would probably, based off gut feeling, though, put them at about 4th or 5th here, just in comparison to how South America, or excuse me, Latin America as a region in general has performed in previous Worlds events. And then obviously Red Canids here. They're a Brazilian organization. We can go ahead and see their placement. Looks like they won. They were the representative for CB LOL. They came 3rd and 4th in the first split, and then looks like they are able to win the second split. So this is probably a pretty formidable team. I definitely remember seeing teams like INTS and Pain Gaming before. It's with these smaller regions, there's not a ton of name recognition here, but I mean, these guys have some cool names. Aegis, Avenger, Titan, and Jojo. I mean, those are all some great names. I'm not sure how to pronounce this one. I imagine it's like Guijo, but that sounds wrong. Pretty cool names. That's all I gotta say about these guys, dog. Probably slot them in the bottom 4 or 5, unless they pull off some upsets, which I would love to see. And then Peace. These guys are... they were an OPL team or an OS team or whatever. I've seen their name before. I think I've seen Tolly somewhere. Maybe not though, but it doesn't look like he's starting for this team. Looks like they happen to have a couple Chinese players on their team, which is interesting. Not too much to say about these guys. We'll go ahead and look. Looks like this was pretty much their first split, apparently. That doesn't sound right. Okay, maybe actually. Okay, so yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, maybe they was Pentanet. I guess their logo reminded me of Pentanet. That's what it was. Yeah, 100%. So I was thinking these guys were Pentanet. This is actually a different team that recently took the slot this year. They apparently have some pretty good players. Looks like they were, second in the split 1 for 2021, and then first in the next split and beating out Pentanet. So kind of, overcoming some of that adversity throughout their season. Really excited to see them here at Worlds, and I would love to see them with some upsets. I would actually probably slot this team at maybe like 3rd or 4th, something like that. That sounds pretty reasonable to me. Seeing them at 3rd or 4th wouldn't really surprise me. It just depends on how well the other teams show up. Moving forward, we will open up these links and take a look at the rest of these teams. Now, these should be a little more well-known. I know Cloud9, I know Unicorns of Love, I know Detonation Focus Me. As for the other 2 teams, I'm not too sure. Looks like Beyond Gaming is a Taiwanese representative. So we have seen some very strong representatives from Taiwan before, most notably PSG Town, which I really thought would make it. I'm surprised that PSG Town... okay, it looks like PSG Town... That's right, they are at Worlds. Yeah, so... the PCS Summer Playoffs appear to have... PSG Town just barely won out here. And something really interesting, I mean, look, Beyond Gaming and PSG Talent had 2 series where they went to 5 games. So really love to see stuff like that. That shows me that this team, in this instance, PSG Talent was able to adapt and come back with a win. But this team is, has a lot of good experience in the long series. So if they are able to make it onto the main stage, which quite frankly, I'd probably, just because of the region, put them like 3rd or 4th over these other teams. If they're able to make it, then once you're into the group stage, like, you have plenty of opportunities to show yourself off and to learn things. So could be a big advantage for Beyond Gaming. As for players, again, the Vietnamese region isn't really one that, I guess it's just the PCS. The PCS isn't one that I follow too much, so I don't think I'll know really any of these players. I haven't really heard any of these guys, but they do have a guy named Doggo and Husky on their team, so maybe a dog theme there. Interesting. Cloud9, we don't really need to introduce any of these players. I would put Cloud9 probably to win this group. I'm from NA, I'm biased, but looking at the quality of some of the other teams, at least in Group 1, if it's more or less the same, I think Cloud9 should be favored to advance here, at least in 2nd, if not 1st. Maybe Beyond Gaming is sick. Maybe Detonation Focus Me is like the craziest Japanese team of all time, but I'd be very, very, very surprised. Um, and then Unicorns of Love. CIS role tends to be a little bit weaker, but I could totally see Unicorns of Love pulling off some magic and maybe coming in second or third place. Most likely I think second or third, but maybe even winning the whole group. And then moving on to Galatasaray. Looks like they are a Turkish organization. A little bit of roster swaps here. They have a couple Korean players. Again, haven't really seen much of their play, but they did win the TCL. In the summer split, so no more Istanbul Wildcats at this event, unfortunately. Remember we saw them at international events in the past, but either way, I'm super excited to see how these groups shake out. I would have Detonation Focus Me probably at the bottom of this group. Japan just tends to be such a weak region. Under that, maybe Galatasaray, and I mean, honestly, like, it could look like this. I think Cloud9 should be on the top slot, but maybe it'll be Unicorns, maybe it'll be Beyond Gaming. Anything else would be a crazy, crazy mix-up, but I would love to see it. So in terms of my predictions for who's making out of groups, I think Cloud9, Beyond Gaming, almost certainly, and then LNG and Hanwha Life, almost certainly. But yeah, that's all I have to say today. So I just wanted to take a quick look at that with you guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.